Welcome to another Wise Women Roundtable. This is an amazing time, and we're really excited to be here and share with you some of the insights that we have around what's happening now. And I'll just start by saying we're doing this recording right after the Taurus new moon. And also, what happened last month was the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus that hadn't happened for 84 years. So it'll be 84 years before it happens again, 83 or 84, I forget the exact number, but and it's really about, if you think about the Uranian energy, Jupiter and Uranus are still very close to each other. And Uranus is all about consciousness and expanding vision and perception and changing things and bringing in new things, things that are maybe things we haven't ever experienced before. And then Taurus is about grounding it and having it be embodied and having it be an experience that we can continue to experience and implement, so to speak. So that it's something we live inside ourselves. It's not just a great idea out here, but it's actually an embodiment in here. And now we're moving towards Gemini. Of course, the sun will go into Gemini on May 20th. And I've talked about this before when we have the days of no shadows at certain latitudes. I wonder if if you have the zenith points where you are, Elizabeth, you can talk to that in a moment when we talk to that. But there's these, so the seasonal shifts at certain latitudes don't happen as dramatically, but they will have solar zenith points where the sun is directly overhead at midday. And some places created what they called zenith tubes, and they'd light up the underground passages only when the sun was right overhead. And so this is a remarkable time to be aware of. And and then we have all this Gemini energy coming in. So moving from Taurus embodiment to Gemini multi-dimension experience, multi-dimensionality, experiencing things in multi-dimensions. And how do we embody these kinds of experiences? I feel like we're being set up to really be able to do that in ways we haven't been able to do. Maybe we didn't even know were possible prior to this. So what happens is the sun goes into Gemini on May 20th, and then Venus goes into Gemini on May 23rd, and then Jupiter goes into Gemini on May 25th. Sedna is already in Gemini at 0 degrees, so the sun's going to conjunct Sedna, Venus is going to conjunct Sedna, Jupiter's going to conjunct Sedna. It's like a Gemini party is happening. And of course, then Venus and the sun will be conjunct each other in Gemini on June 4th in the underworld phase of the Venus cycle. Now, underworld is whenever a planet is in the so-called underworld, it's with the sun, and the sun is the source of light and life for our planet. So it's sourcing a new way of being, and Venus being in Gemini, the sun being in Gemini, how are we telling the new stories? And Sedna is very close by because sun and Sedna will have been with each other. Also, oh wait, yeah, Mercury in Gemini. Of course, the moon's going to pass by all that, and there'll be a new moon in Gemini. I think it's around the 6th or 7th of June. So this Gemini party is something maybe we want to participate in. And one of the ways I feel like we can participate with that is to play, have more play. Play is something that we could say the trickster energy, the coyote energy, the Kokopelli energy that's associated with Gemini, not taking ourselves so seriously, taking more time to play and play that's fun, not just play that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't need to make any sense, but just having the time where we can experience greater laughter and fun and playfulness and finding that inner child, finding our inner child and calling that part of ourselves forth so that we're having more fun. And I just spent several days with my 4-year-old grandson, and we played the whole time. And he loves to play. He just has so much fun, and he's thinking of new things and doing imaginative play and that kind of thing. So if you don't feel inspired, maybe finding a young person to inspire you in your play could be a great way to work with this this energy of this coming month. And so I had this idea that what we're doing is playing our way to greater healthy self-love. Because when we're playing and we're doing it in a way that's fun and imaginative, it's a way of loving ourselves that maybe we haven't really given ourselves permission to do before. So with that, I'm going to pass this on to Elizabeth so she can share her insights.
Oh, thank you. So the sun here on the equator is usually in the same spot in the sky. So we always have a zenith every day. And that's kind of cool because you get to experience that closeness to the sun, and there's more light here. It's very literal. I just got back from the north and the sun is more yellow. There's more atmosphere, and we're here on the edge where the earth bulges out. So there's way less atmosphere and we're way closer to the sun. And when the sky is blue, it's actually very dark blue because we're closer to space. And the Milky Way and the stars are much brighter than usual as well. And the seasons, there's only really 2 seasons, rainy and dry. So yeah, it's a different world. It's amazing how, depending on where you are on the earth, you can experience so many different things. But energetically, with this time of Gemini, I have a lot of Geminis in my life, so I attend to this. And here's a kind of fun example. My daughter is a Gemini, and she's young, she's 7, and she draws a lot of self-portraits. And you'd think that a little kid wouldn't draw so many self-portraits, but every time she draws a self-portrait, it's always half angel, half devil. Always, every time. And I always thought this was so funny. And at first I thought it was very disturbing, but I realized that it was her really recognizing herself, that she understood who she was, that there is the shadow and the light within her. And she's very conscious of these 2 parts of herself. And to be such a conscious being, aware of that, to celebrate it, to be able to play with it a bit. And I think, especially with Gemini energy, there can be a sense of being pulled in 2 directions. I call it the white horse and the black horse. And, you're in the chariot and they want to go one direction, the other one wants to go to the other. And taming these 2 things, bringing in real clear awareness of your shadow. And I think that this time in our year, as we head into the power of the solstice vortex, which that's certainly how it feels. It's one of those cool vortices that we get to go play in each year. But the need for us to recognize our identities even more. And I always keep pointing out to the people around me and my clients and my friends and family, when you're triggered, when you're upset, when you're in reaction, when your emotions seem to get out of control, is that really you? Who are you? That classic, beautiful, powerful question that leads us on a spiritual path. Who are you? Are you those reactions? Are you the devil or the angel? Are you any of those things? Are you your identity? Are you your desires or your fears? And none of it's true. There's a gateway of power, and it has a big, beautiful sign above it, and it says, "No one may enter here." And it doesn't mean that you can't enter. It means that you can't have identity when you enter. But why would you want to do that? Because identity, in the matrix is handy. You walk around with a master's degree and it opens some doors for you. Or, you say that you're an anthropologist or a psychic and it opens some other doors. That's all very handy and nice. But you're not going to be able to go through this door with any of that. And I think that it's because people don't realize, like Kaylin said off the call, we're taught not to know. People don't realize what is the beauty and benefit of not having an identity. what happens when you decide not to be someone? Well, I think that having gone through this and regularly needing to go through it, because it's always good to go back and brush up on the basics, there's a difference between doing and being. And when you are doing your identity, you're doing the anthropology thing, you're doing the degree, you're doing the psychic readings, or whatever it is that you're doing, we put a lot of weight and identity around all of that, because then you can do the thing that you were supposed to do, or that you think you are aware that you know you should do. But what happens when all of it gets swept away by, I don't know, an earthquake, an apocalypse, whatever? Then what? Then who are you? What happens when your civilization just disappears, or the template of the relationship you were in is just gone? What happens when your relationship fails and peters out and gets swept away like everything does? Well, the difference between being someone and hanging on to that identity and being either the angel or the devil or both is that then you get to be, instead of running around trying to pick out books of knowledge so that you can do this thing in the world more effectively because you think you know. Well, that's a lot of work. Then all the play becomes work. Then it's hard. Then it's more challenging. Then everything is an energy expenditure, even though you're a font of endless prana, endless energy. Your soul is a font of endless chi. And when you become that and you be that light, nothing more, nothing less, and you're not doing identity any longer, then you're free. You're free so that you can be the library instead of running around and working in the library, or be sacred movement instead of working so hard to learn how to do that certain martial art. Or then you can be the art, be the seeing, be the mirror, be source, be one with all things. And there's no more expenditure. It's natural, like a butterfly flies. You know, I have a lot of little hummingbirds that like to come out and hang out with the flowers out in my front yard. And the hummingbirds, they're not thinking about flying, and they're the experts. They can fly backwards. It's so cool. They're like little helicopters. They're not thinking about that. They don't have to do it. They are the essence of flying. They just know how to be in flight. And they truly can just be. It's one of the things I love about animals, is that they don't have a bunch of this construct. So they just know how to be a dog, to be a goat. And this is something we've lost after so much matrices, civilization, patriarchy, oligarchy stuff. Now it's time to be free of all of that identity. And honestly, ritual helps with that. And I think ritual is very powerful. And certainly these auspicious times that is in the stars too, there's a lot of affording for special, powerful times to do quality rituals, however that might look for you. And even just prayer and intent to just be your true self. There is no higher vibration than authenticity. I know everybody thinks love is the highest vibration. No, it's not. It's authenticity. It's to truly be the authentic self. I was listening to Gabor Mate recently. I'm probably saying his name wrong, but he was talking about how the caretaker personalities die sooner than everybody else. And it's because they're not authentic to their feelings. They don't express anger. They don't express sadness because they don't want to disturb anybody. And it's time for us to be truly authentic and keep asking yourself, who am I? And here's a trick. It's a good metaphor that I'll end on. There's the experience of our personal life is sort of like a one-person showing of a very interesting movie. So I have this one-person showing of the Elizabeth movie. And we're taught to only know ourselves from the body, as the body watching the movie. But I'll tell you, there's a projector with a big old light bulb. There's a film, there's your body, there's the screen, which is source. And without source, of course, nothing can exist. The movie just goes into, it doesn't exist. So your light from your soul is moving through that film, which is your genetic information, your personal information that you've experienced. There's a lot of repeats in that film. And you're watching it, and we're told that we are that body watching it, but the movie's moving through your body. Who are you really? You're the light bulb. You're the light bulb. So what would happen if you removed the film? If you remove the film, then what are you watching? Then what are you really? You're that one quality of light, and it fills the whole universe. If everything else disappeared but your own essence, there would still be a universe because your awareness makes it so. That's how beautiful you really are. So I just want to celebrate you being you and learning how to play as you, as the light bulb, and coming up with a different way to connect to everything else. See the light that is your light in all things. And I think that'll give us a good leg up for solstice. So I'll pass it to Sarah from here.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah. Wow. Well, I certainly like the sound of the Gemini energy arriving and the multi-dimensionality. I think that will be fun, a lot of fun. And what you were sharing, Elizabeth, gives me a perspective on what I've been experiencing in the last couple of weeks, and also through sharing it with other people that do the similar kind of work with nature as I do, that we've realized that many of us are experiencing it. So this idea of letting all the ego drop and just allowing ourselves to be the source light, I think we all understand what that means, but if we think of it in the construct of the modern world, it's extraordinarily scary, isn't it? As all this extra information comes through, comes down from the heavens and up from the earth. It's like, wow, what an extraordinary world that would be. So what I have been experiencing, and I only really got clear about it this weekend, and what I'm going to share here is nothing terribly amazing transition. I've been through these places before, but I suddenly got really clear that there was something huge or potentially could be possible for me, but not for me, for the world. So I could really feel it in my system. So how did I feel it? First of all, my lower back hurts. And I haven't had that for a long time. And yes, you could say, oh, well, you've got a scoliosis, Sarah, you just need some adjustment. And that's probably true. But I really got clear that there was just something bigger moving through, and my body was just adjusting itself for it. So I paid attention, essentially. And in the flower essence world, there are certain essences you can put on certain parts of the body. And one of them is wild oat, for that place right at the bottom of the spine. I'm not very good with the anatomy, but like the other side of the sacral chakra, that real base, not quite the base of the spine, but that part where the lower back really is sore. Sometimes that would be in the essence world, in the batch essences, that's wild oat. And wild oat usually tells us something like, you're changing path, your direction is changing, which makes an awful lot of sense. So on a very basic level, it's for people who are searching for their authentic self. Possibly they want a different job or a different role or a different life or a different something, but it can also meet us at that next level. So I was like, okay, so there's a next level coming through, whatever that means. I actually have zero idea what that means right now. And then once I got very clear on what my body was telling me, and it felt really true, I was like,
you know what, I'm really scared. I'm really scared. So I was like, okay, so it's really interesting that I can say I'm really scared and be actually quite calm saying it, because it wasn't a kind of panic attack, kind of scared. And then I really felt into that potential. So, and then I started sharing this, and other people going, oh my goodness, I feel so like that myself. And we were talking about, and I have experienced this before, as I'm sure many others have done, but consciously, physiologically, fear is a lot like excitement. The heart does a similar thing. So, how about we just change that filter to, my goodness, how exciting? You know, this amazing thing is coming. And how about I just change that filter? So, that's kind of where I've been. So, if anybody is feeling like that, feeling this fear that's could be fear, and I've spoken in other times we've been together about rescue remedy. I still think rescue remedy can do virtually everything right now. I don't think you need anything else right now. It's just to keep the system calm, keep it calm, just keep, using the essences or whatever it is you use to, like, okay, let's let go of that. Let's be safe. Let's feel safe enough to move. And so using essences and misters. One of the essences that I'm loving at the moment, I've never really kind of got it. I've got the card here. It's not quite sure how well you can see that, but this is one of the Batch Essence cards, or Bach, as some people say. It's actually the healing herbs essences. And this is water that's coming out from the earth. It's called rock water, literally. And it's not actually in the batch system. It's not actually an essence, because it's just water coming out the earth. So it's pure vibration of water that has maybe not seen light before. Or if it hasn't seen it for a very, very long time. And what rock water is really good at is breaking things up. So if there's a pattern that needs to be broken, which is kind of what we're seeing massively right now, it's like we haven't really got, there's not a will thing here. It's like, oh, I think I'd quite like to do that. It's like, no, we're doing this. So this is really useful, and I've been using it around my own energy field. It's like a really good space clearing essence. So that's one that maybe if you feel like really interfacing with a very pure, because a lot of the nature beings, and they all have their places, a lot of essences or plants grow in cities. Does that mean that that plant is less valuable than one that grows in a place where there's no humans? No, it's just a different being, that it has a different way of being. Some people might say, oh, but it's got chemicals and it's got pesticides. But wow, how strong is that plant to be able to live in that environment? So I'm not saying that we should start taking medicinal herbs that have been sprayed with pesticides. It's not where I'm coming from. But it's like many of us have not really met pure energy that hasn't come from those pure spaces. And this would be an example of that. Or any place where you might go, I'm sure there are places all around the world where you can actually collect the deep spring waters, and there are many, many of them. The other one that I want to share with you today is this beautiful flower, and this is rock rose, and it's actually in the Rescue Remedy. Rock rose is also one of the batch essences, and I'll just hold it here if it helps for people to connect in with it. It's not for fear, it's for sheer panic. It's for the kind of panic where you actually think you're going to die. And so as we move through these times, and I do think between now and up to solstice and beyond, there may be times, hopefully not too much on the physical, but just as identity shifts, all the things that we've been talking about, how amazing would it be to be able to really enter into this world of the nature spirits and be able to talk about it, and for it to be real, which of course it is. But in order for that to happen, there's going to be an awful lot of patterns in our own selves that need to leave, essentially. So I think this could be an extraordinary essence to help, and I certainly will be connecting with it myself. So I hope that's helpful for anybody who may be experiencing similar things to myself and likes to work with nature. And on that note, I shall hand over to Nalini.
Thank you, Sarah. I just said in another video this morning, there's so much that I could say and so little, because the new moon with its introduction to the Gemini party, I love that. It's a great word for stellium. I'm going to use this from now on. Is the kind of reset that is as though a huge lever has been thrown and a new life has begun. Now, those of us who've been through various awakenings have been through that many times. And this one is different. Now, we could say that every time, I suppose. But this one is different in that it has taken us to that 0 point, to that point of stillness that all other things manifest from. So I always enjoy spending time with my sisters, and one can appreciate the herald of the Gemini energy because we spent a whole lot of time talking today, chatting, which we usually don't do. And it was really fun. And I'm always reminded that, Kalen's infamous saying is, we inform the mysteries as much as they inform us, but we are the mysteries. It's not an either or both. And, with Elizabeth today saying, who are we? Well, I think the owls have it right. It's who. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's just a fun vibration. And one of the things I love about Sarah's work is she asks the question, what is the transformation that you offer of the people that work with her? And embodies, like, what is the transformation that you embody that is moving as your source essence through you and through all of source at this moment? And that's true for everyone. It's true for every one of us. What is the source essence that you are? And I had a very odd meditation during, well, maybe it wasn't, but during the new moon last night. And source reminded me of this soundbite, and it was runway lights. And I remembered that decades ago, somewhere in the far distant identity play, I had heard that phrase from source, runway lights. And a friend had said, I think it might have been back during the Unplugging the Patriarchy project, I'm not sure, but I'm kind of getting that reference. And a friend said, oh, well, we are the runway lights that others will follow. And I thought, I have no aspirations to be a mother duck. I don't need the followers, so what's this really about? So when that soundbite came through last night, I just looked at it because I'm very conversant with the zero identity place. It's fun. It's so much fun. Come and play. Anyway, I was listening to that, and the clarity that came through was, for all of the, what could be called, first wavers, second wavers, this galacticus, this, that, this luminous. Yeah, we like to make up words, but they're all runway lights. And like when I was a little girl, my family moved to the country, and we used to have to drive by the airport to get from town out to where we lived. And I used to love that because it was like Christmas, Hanukkah, Diwali, all wrapped up in one moment of all these lovely colored lights in the dark. And I just got such joy out of that. And, my family thought I was crazy, but I was just like, oh, the lights, and that is every one of us that has had however many awakenings. Me, I've had many. That it's a different flavor of those lights that we embody, that we integrate, that immersion learning is about integration, and we bring that into our embodiment, all in different ways, each in our own ways, each through the various kingdoms that we move through. Nature is one of the best. The stars are another one of the best. Is there a best? I don't know. But those runway lights, and the phrase that Source gave me again was using the ubiquitous you know, you are the runway lights that help others land. Did that make my life have meaning? I don't know, maybe for a flash of a second. I'm not sure it needs one. But it was that moment of recognition of, one could say who we are, but it's more that what, that light bulb, that essence. Does a flower worry about competing with other flowers? No. Do the stars worry about competing with each other? No. I think Sedna is inviting the initiation, like all the other planets are going to pass through her aura as she approaches Earth. And this is a rising up from the depths of all that is, the infinite field, that deep mellow blueness, you know, that we all are. And it just obliterates everything but that divine play, that divine lila that we all are. And that everything celebrates, each being celebrates in its own way, because for this moment, for this incarnation, for whatever it is, because that's fun. And the more we move into that, unity has no duality within it. It has the components thereof, but is there a juxtaposed thing? No. And I can say this with complete authority because I live there. And it's really fun. And so, yes, we experience all of these other things. We experience, you know, the rush of the yang energy that comes through us in one way or another, the fear, the anger, the whatever. And we learn from that. We learn by immersion in it. You know, for star seeds, star streams, whatever label we're using today, we're not used to having an emotional body like this. And it's an amplifier for everything the physical and all the other bodies are feeling. And integrating that is its own challenge. But it's one of the adventures we came in to have. And so maybe it's not so much about making meaning as playing new games, really having that joy in being in this body that's on loan. We get to have it for a time. We borrow Gaia's energy, just like the flowers. Do they get upset about wilting? I've never seen one do that. You know, I mean, it's just, oh, they're immortal. They'll come back later in a different form, you know, and so are we. That light that we are is ever dancing, ever playing. And this reset that we are, one could say, living through, but that we are becoming, you know, that's again, we need to kind of let go the linear thought, even though we live that way. But just instead of we're moving through this, no, we are that becoming, we are that embodiment, and let it manifest in a really joyous way. And then these are the realignments. This is everything our bodies are experiencing. This is all the stuff you can feel. The body's telling you, well, there's a little piece right here that kind of isn't letting go. Okay, let's, instead of trying to figure it out or fix it, just acknowledge and work with Source the way it works through each of us to realign. It's an inner resurrection. It is a revolution, we could say, of the heart. But this energy, what we are becoming, is what resurrection means. Or it's what it is. Maybe even means is a silly word. But this is what we are embodying and becoming. So let's make it fun, because it was meant to be that. And thank you to each of my sisters here and to all of you watching, because we feel you. We know you are here. So thank you.
Yay, here's to fun. And also just want to remind everyone that be sure to check out the show notes because there'll be links to follow up on things that were talked about here that will maybe help you go deeper. And yeah, we'll be excited to connect with you. And maybe what you can do is put in the show notes something you plan to do this next month. That's fun. That would be that, and that might inspire people to, because maybe we can't think of, maybe we're like stuck and we don't know what that could be helpful. So if you have something that you're going to do that's fun, then you could share that with us. That would be awesome. So until we meet again, bye everyone.
Bye.